Hey guys, welcome to the church. We have transformed it into a chocolate factory, and I cannot wait to give you a tour of what's happened. So when you first walk in, we transformed our kid men check-in into a candy store, because which kid doesn't want to get candy when they come in? We got a ton of different folks who have different skill sets. So we've got some guys who they come in with saws and nail guns and they build walls, but we have some folks who they are just artists. And so this was actually made by Heather, and Heather's just super artistic. She spent a couple of weeks taking cardboard, gluing it together, layering wax to make it look like an old-timey cash register, which I just thought was the coolest thing ever. We have a crock pot full of chocolate, so when you walk in, it just smells like chocolates all over the place, and it just makes you want to eat chocolate. Whenever a kid shows up, we got a little gift for them, and so they can, out of the Wonka bar box, get their Kid Venture cup, just as a small way of saying that we're so glad that they're here. We had to figure out how to do the Wonka gate, because you gotta have the Wonka gate. A guy named Mike figured out how to use a CNC machine to like cut out the letters. And then he came up with like the PVC arch and glued it on, and I just thought it turned out incredible. One of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted you to be able to step in and then feel like you were entering into the factory. And so the gate just creates that like transition moment that we were hoping for. So let's go ahead and walk into the factory, and I can't wait to tell you some of the stuff along the way about what happened. If you've seen the new Wonka, the cherry blossom tree is like a huge part of the new Wonka movie. But figuring out how to build it was kind of a nightmare. So we started out with chicken wire, and then we started wrapping paper around it, and we were gonna paper mache it. But that was terrible. So then we had to pivot to butcher paper, and what was neat was they took spray foam and they layered the spray insulation foam on top of the butcher paper, and then folks who were just really good at painting figured out how to paint the details. And when you're up close, it looks like you're looking at a tree trunk. One of my favorite moments was we had a grandma who was a part of the build, so she was here working and painting, and she was helping make this, and she just got really excited because she realized her 5-year-old granddaughter had just had a birthday, and it was a Wonka theme. And so she went and picked up her granddaughter, brought her back, and I remember the granddaughter standing right here just looking up at the tree, and she just was like, "It's just like the movie." And it was just so fun watching this little girl just like have a moment. So one of our things was we said, let's shrink our square footage, but enhance the experience within it. And so we just built a wall and cut that all off. I remember watching these two guys who, one is newer to church, started coming maybe about 6 months ago, and he partnered up with another guy, and they're both in their mid-20s, and both relatively new to church, both relatively new to faith, and they just made a friendship, and they just worked like crazy, and they ended up screwing all of these gears up, and like one was on this side screwing, the other one's like screwing a block on the other side to keep it from having the nail out. It turns out they're both getting married on the same date, and just like a friendship formed while building a wall together. And just reminded me, like so many times, what we do as a church is just an excuse for relationships to form, and it just made me really excited to see that. We wanted to do like a big long run and paint it saying milk was like running above the wall. There is a warehouse being built about 20 minutes from here that got shipped all the wrong ductwork. And the company, instead of returning the ductwork, was told to scrap it. Well, through the grapevine, we found out, so I ended up getting 6 box trucks load of this metal ductwork. I did not realize how heavy ductwork is. So it ended up taking like 12 guys and a lift and chains, and I'm not looking forward to taking it down, but I do know gravity's in our favor. One of our campuses had this old boat, and this boat looked heinous. But then we turned it into the ferry, and I was just amazed at what layers of paint and details could do. We had some guys figure out how to stabilize it, figure out how to get the pipes on it, and then we had some guys who are just good at details. We had a guy named Steve sit here with a gold pen drawing all these lines, and Steve just came alive. We had a dad and his daughters figure out how to make the wheel in the back, and it just was really neat seeing this single dad with his 2 middle school daughters looking at a photo of the ferry and then figuring out how do we make that. While that happened, we had a local landscape company who ripped out a deck, and they offered us part of their deck off their burn pile. And so it just kind of transformed junk into this dock ferry scene. So now you can stand in the middle, get your photo, looks like you're on the ferry, but the wheel spins, And so on a Sunday morning, it's just fun watching them play and have a good time with it. So we had all this ductwork. We ended up putting ductwork up there, and then we realized that we accidentally over-ordered giant gummy bears. Like 2 of our team members both ordered, and so we ended up having all of these gummy bears, and we just thought we'd stick them around. Well, then we started blowing them up, and we realized we could just make like a gummy bear machine. And so that's just a ton of fun on a Sunday morning, watching kids come in and just try to take these. We've had several moms have to chase their kid and take the gummy bear back because the little kids are like, oh, free gummy bear for me. So we had this mom named Joy who she came in, she has 3 little kids, and she laid out, this is 4 sheets of foam. She taped them together, and then she just started drawing. And the next thing you knew, she drew this. And then some other folks came in and they figured out how to put this pipe on the bottom. They made some legs to it. A guy named Justin and his family built the legs. And so now it's been really neat seeing folks be able to take photos and create some memories and share them. If you've watched the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka, you know about the Augustus Gloop tube. And so we have a guy named Jeff who he wanted to figure out how to create the tube. He schemed and schemed and schemed and figured out how to take these pieces of plastic, bend them, wrap them together, so then it looks like chocolate flowing down. Once we hung it, we realized that it was a little bit too high. And so if you were a shorter kid, you couldn't get your photo with your hands up in it. We had some high schoolers working, and we just said, hey, could you make a stool? They walked out feeling like they were bosses because they used a jigsaw for the first time. They made a stool, and then it's been fun on a Sunday morning to see them bring their friends and be like, I made that. If you're a kid, you gotta have fun in these builds. And one of the things that we've realized is kids wanna climb, they wanna crawl through things, and they wanna slide. And so this year we found a slide on Facebook Marketplace for free. And then we decided, let's make the slide into a water tower. And so we ended up making a Wonka water tower on top, which is made out of like PVC pipes, some corrugated plastic, and then someone painted it to make it look like the Wonka sign. And then we actually got to work with a local elementary school this year who their theme for their elementary school was Wonka. The principal attends our church, and so he said, hey, I've got some of these Wonka props, do you want them? And we're like, absolutely. So he had a couple of Wonka bars, but he also had that Nerds box that he and his wife had painted. You gotta have the fizzy lifting drink. And so on a Sunday morning, we got this light that shines up, and then we actually have a fog machine to make it look like smoke and bubbles are coming up. We wanted to put some of these tubes up to kind of make this wall 3-dimensional. And so we had a guy show up, and he's in the trades, and he was like, what can I do for you? And we were like, hey, can you screw these tubes up? And he goes, I can. And we were thinking it would literally just be like, you know, tubes, like perpendicular. Next thing we know, he's over here like making all these angled cuts, making all these details, figuring out how to make it 3-dimensional, come out, all these curves. He went so far beyond what we thought we were gonna do that when he got done, we were just amazed. And I was like, Cody, that's incredible. Somebody decided to hide one of our gummy bears in the vent. So this is like one of our like little treats that if you can find the hidden gummy bear, we just think it's hilarious that it's just like sitting here watching you. Now, we've actually saved the best for last. So let me show you the highlight of our build this year. The thing that shocks everybody when they walk in is when you walk in and you see a 16-foot chocolate waterfall. This is absolutely like the centerpiece of the entire build, and people just stand here amazed that we would go like figure out how to make a waterfall. So actually, we got a chemist who goes to our church, and so we reached out to Evan and we said, how do we make this thing look like chocolate but not have soured milk? And so he came up with some concoction, and it looks like chocolate, and we love it, and we're so excited. And then this is just sheets of plywood with AstroTurf on top of it, and then a ton of little details. So layers of fabric mixed in with different things. These are actually plates that have been painted and wrapped in saran wrap. This is actually pool noodles that they cut and then stitched together to make it look like one of those giant candy necklaces that kids wear. But man, it has just been incredible to see what a build like this, just having fun at church, how it draws people in. Thanks thanks for coming and checking out our chocolate factory. I would love to know what parts you enjoyed the most, which room was your favorite. I'd also be curious to know in the comments what movies we should do in the future, because maybe you could help us think of a movie that we've not thought of before. That would be an incredible opportunity for someone to come and experience church, maybe to be introduced to Jesus, and maybe one day become a life changed by him. So thanks for checking out our chocolate factory. So glad you were here. Can't wait to hear what you guys enjoyed the most. Thanks for being here. See you guys.